Grady Powell, host of Forged in Fire.
Kyle Mann.
I'm Jay Warner Wallace.
Kira Davis.
It's Ben Adams. Hey, this is Dave Baker.
Carrie Pomeroli.
This is Mike Reiner.
This is Ethan Nicole.
This is Liam Morgan.
This is Graham Parker, the 50GP, and this is why you should never.
How I got suckered in.
I'm so embarrassed that I'm here.
You're wasting your time. You got better things to do.
Never listen.
Those darling, yummy Reverend and the Reprobate.
It's fine. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Reverend and the Reprobate. I am Lucas Pinkert. I'm an actual Reverend, and here with me, as always, is a man whose ordination paperwork was pulled by Maverick himself. It's Big Dan Gibson. What's up, man?
I'm refusing to let this go.
Yeah, well,
I've told everyone at the office.
It was your mother's last wish after your father Goose died that he not let you get into the ministry, and so he just pulled your papers.
Yep.
So whenever you make it to the Top Preacher Academy, and you're getting ready for that mission to go and...
What are some of the nicknames of the top preachers at the Top Preacher Academy?
Top Preacher Academy.
There's
I don't know.
Iceman, Goose, Maverick.
Right. So I don't
Top
know.
Gun.
I don't know what the preaching equivalent of this would, because maybe they would be like brimstone, because if a pastor's like, oh, hellfire and brimstone.
There you go.
Right.
There's a bigger fella. His name's Potluck.
Yeah, we did have a pastor named Evil that we talked about one time on this show, Greg Evil Lewis.
One of our very dear friends.
Yes, yeah. Which I think was great. So today on the show, there is no guest. So if you're looking for, you're looking for an interview, just go to the next episode.
This is better.
Or go to the last episode.
We have guests, but there is no guest today.
Yes.
That would be following Stephen Mansfield's.
Right. Or the Kurdish. That would be the Kurdish way.
It's what Stephen Mansfield told us about.
Stephen Mansfield.
You heard me.
This is, believe it or not, this is our 100th celebration of 100 episodes. 100 episodes of the Reverend and the Reprobate.
Look, there's two metrics we need to look at: how many things that I'm mispronouncing and how much time that wastes. And then the second one is your reaction to me.
Your mispronunciations.
Yeah. If we totaled up those hours, I don't know which one would be bigger.
I'm not sure either. But
we've got a great show for you today.
I'm willing to put an intern on the case if we get him.
Hey, let's throw an intern at it.
You know what? Let's talk about 100 episodes.
100
so this is wrapping up year 2 of the Reverend and the Reprobate, which is crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Thinking about this started out as kind of a pandemic escape right away for us to not have to deal with everything that was going on during 2020.
It was a cheaper solution to me than gardening.
Yeah. Which we both suck at. Yeah. And especially with the heat index.
Dude. My crops are just
whenever
burnt.
you're listening to this, it's being recorded at the end of July in Texas. This is July 27th.
It's hot right now
2022.
in the studio.
Yeah.
With a good AC.
The heat index
working.
is currently 104 here and has gotten as high as 116 for like 4 days straight. So we're basically just watering our plants, not because we're getting anything from them, but just to keep them alive.
It is really funny seeing, on addition to the plants, which isn't funny.
Plants aren't funny.
I've noticed everyone around me more grumpy, and
for sure.
Patience is less.
Yeah.
Sense of humor is less in general.
Just
not
walk
everyone,
to the car.
Yeah,
that walk to the car. It doesn't matter if it's 15 feet or if it's 15 yards. That small walk to the car, it's worse if you have to go do something. Like if you got to go, Kirsten and I went to Costco. Work. Yeah, no. Like if we went to Costco, and so we had to park far out, right? Because she doesn't have the baby on board sticker yet.
Say, she's very pregnant
or anything
too.
like that, right? Yeah, which we're expecting our first in October. I know we've mentioned it a couple of times on the show, but it's getting a little bit more real.
So many times.
Yeah.
I don't think you realize how many times it's come up.
But I think I do, because I'm the one that edits the episodes.
I know, but there's so many guests that have said, "Oh, congratulations! Oh, your first one."
But much that didn't happen on air. There's a lot of that happened before and after where we didn't actually talk about it on the episode. We've talked about it a lot, but that hasn't happened on the episodes a lot. But anyway, so we've got our first coming in October, and so she is beyond the point of like just showing. Like we're in the beginning of the 3rd trimester. And just had that appointment. The doctor. So this was a weird thing. Like the doctor, Kirsten's laying down on the table, and the doctor, showing me the baby's, where the baby is in the belly, and she's like, "Hey, let me see your hand." So I give her my hand, and she puts it at the top of my wife's abdomen, And she's like, okay, squeeze a little bit. I was like, all right. And then she takes my hand and she shakes my hand like real violently. She's like, you feel that? I was like, yeah, what is that? She's like, that's your baby's head. Like everything they tell you.
Maybe she hasn't heard of shaken baby syndrome.
So I was going to say, like, everything that they tell you after the baby is born is don't shake the baby. Be careful, you can't shake the baby.
Remember, don't shake the baby.
Yeah, like Nate Bargatze's got a whole like 10 minutes that he does on not shaking the baby and what that was like from the hospital. My doctor from Germany made my little child a maraca for like 30 seconds so that I could feel, that's its head. So it's currently breached, but it'll flip back over and stuff before, only 2% of babies are born breached. Yeah. She gives me all these
the babies all move
statistics. Right. So it's like they do that. But what just happened? Was that like now he's not going to be able to do math? Is that did we just take out the math?
I don't know.
I don't either.
I mean,
but whatever's wrong with
it
him,
erased something.
Whatever's wrong with the baby. Remember that this happened.
Remember the Etch-a-Sketch moment.
Yeah,
whatever was erased was Dr. Moroccan's fault.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks a lot, Dr. Diane.
Mm-hmm. Remember, don't shake the babies.
Yeah, don't but
Pete, I think it was like Pete Holmes also talks about it, and he says, the thing they don't tell you, they all tell you not to shake the baby. The thing they don't tell you is that you're going to want to shake the baby.
and it makes sense.
The babies are irrational. They don't listen.
No.
They are selfish. They only care about eating and pooping and getting clean immediately. They do not give a two darn cents about where they are if you're in a wonderful sleep dreaming about nachos.
Yeah. No,
I don't know what girls dream about. That's
the
what I
baby
dream
does
about.
not care
at
all. And nor will it for the next 20 to 25 years will it care. Only when it gets out of the house and is in college and realizes it can't make itself soup will it call home and say, "Hey, parents,
can I have $400?
You know how much I love you." Yeah.
All right, so 100 episodes.
So we're at 100 episodes, and but the thing about the pregnancy is so like she's at that point where I can feel the kid kick at night, right? So like when she's rolled over towards me in the bed. Like the baby will wake me up whenever it kicks. So
hold on real quick. What gender neutral pronouns are you guys using for your baby?
The baby.
Okay.
That's it.
Cool. Yeah. Sounds good.
Thanks, pumpkin. So we go to Costco, but we have to park out of like the far side of the parking lot. And we were literally having, as we're getting out of Costco, we're having the do I need to come pick you up conversation.
So look,
because the heat index is at 115 and we're like 100 yards away from the thing. And I get that this is first world problems and all that stuff, but we walked all the way in there. We marched around Costco for an hour and she's tired. Mm-hmm. It's 115 degrees, like literally 115 degree heat index. It's that you stay under the awning. I'm going to go get the car.
Yeah.
Like she would have much rather walked in the rain than walked in that. But by the time I get to the car, like I'm done.
That is a chore that's likely carried out by many men across the world, but definitely Texas men.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We go get our trucks for our wives.
Yeah, and
it's not always a truck, but it's a truck.
Yeah, lately it's been a Tiguan because the Camaro has gone away. Yeah. Which was very sad. We went from, I don't know if we've talked about this, but we went from my vehicle alone had 655 horsepower. Our two vehicles combined
right now,
yes, don't hit 2/3 of that. Like I don't even know how we make it up to highway speed right now in either one of our vehicles. But
have you adjusted yet from being able to
I gotta
accelerate ridiculously?
Well, because I got a pickup like the one that I used to have, right? So I went from having an 05 Colorado to the 2019 Camaro 2SS with a supercharger, is beautiful. Now to an 08 Colorado. So I got one that's a little newer, but it's the same motor. So after the first couple of days, it just felt like the Camaro now.
You were just back in your Colorado.
Like the Camaro now feels like a rental, like the most expensive rental of all time, and the coolest, and one of the cheaper rentals I've had. But yeah, that now it just feels like I rented this car for 3 years,
it was awesome.
And then what's crazy is they basically
it's like having the Batmobile for 6 months.
Yeah, they gave me what I paid for it. And so I was able to take that and use it. And now I don't have a car payment. We have a car payment on her car, but it's much less.
Yeah, I got you.
But that's it. It was nice.
Cool.
It was a fun rental. And that Camaro would fly.
I know. We both went from really bad to the bone cars
to pickups
to smarter.
Yeah, because you had a
Challenger.
Yeah, the RT though, right?
A Hemi.
It was a
standard.
It was a beast.
It was.
So, okay, this is totally out. Like we've lost the thread of the 100 episodes at this point.
100 what?
Yeah. So, in traffic.
Yeah, I hated it.
The standard is it feels so masculine until you're in stop and go traffic, and then it feels like the most.
Yeah, you have all these operations to move,
to go 5 feet,
and then you get potentially shifting back to neutral, so you can take your foot off the clutch and the brake.
Or you just hold the clutch down the whole time and hope that doesn't ruin everything.
But I've made trips from Fort Worth to Dallas working in the Challenger, and
it was absolutely miserable because I drove that 5-speed. Pontiac GXP for a while.
God forbid you need to pick up some mulch.
Yeah.
Too.
Because it won't fit in the car.
Yeah. No, as soon as we closed in the house, I went, this isn't going to work.
Yeah,
I need mulch. I need bushes. We're going to need a truck for this. This is going to be a truck. So every man, get yourself a truck.
I think you should know how to drive a stick shift.
Do what you want.
And once you've become proficient in that, right, then that's one of those skills that you're like, no, I know how to do this. So go back to the automatic.
Look, I know that girls like seeing you drive around and you like to show off in that nice car. If you really want to find a good woman.
Do girls really like that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know what girls like.
Maybe girls do like that, but I don't think women are really impressed
That's right. Women like utility. They like something that serves a purpose. They like something that's reliable. They like something that will protect them in the event of a crash, which a truck will do more.
Yeah, those are all attributes a good husband should have too.
Yes.
Like reliable, hardworking, utilitarian.
Yeah. Can carry mulch.
Knows
what to do with mulch.
Not afraid to plant a few bushes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those
also,
are all. Yeah.
If you got a crappy old bush that's all dried out, truck.
Yeah.
Hook it up to a chain, rip that sucker out. You got a bush in the truck, put it in the hole.
There's too many videos of that going wrong that I've seen on the internet, which is so
me too.
bad.
But I love the idea because I'm not going to get in. I'm not going to get a shovel and just go at that thing all day. It's not going to happen. I'm going to find a way to blow it up.
Do you own a shovel?
Yes, I do.
Like more than a garden trowel. Like you own an actual spade shovel or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a spade and then whatever the
sharpshooter
flat one is. No, it's like wide and flats for like picking stuff off. You got some rocks.
It's
in your
like a
driveway.
roofing shovel.
Yeah. Get some rocks and you gotta scoop it up and throw it off. I've got one.
Yeah, well there you go. You get the rock scooping shovel?
I don't know what I used it for.
I don't know what you used it for either. I'm so stunned that you have this piece of equipment.
Yeah, I've got tools
that you inherited.
Some of them I inherited.
Yeah,
some of them I bought. Some of them were like, I have no way to fix this at my house now, so let's go call Dad, ask him for some money or a tool. When he says I don't have that, I go, okay, well. Go get one.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, let's see. 100 episodes.
100. Oh, we're back.
100 episodes.
100 epper nippers.
Yeah, so this is weird because I'm counting this as 100 episodes for us, even though there's 101 released. The last one that we released was Sans You. And so I don't know if it counts.
It doesn't count.
Well, that's a... Sorry, Cammy.
Look,
Cammy. Sorry, the sheep game. We'll get you back on with one that counts.
It might count as an episode.
So like Bob and Dan would count it if one of the two of them were on the show.
Yeah, but I want to be 100. I guess either way I get to be on the 100 episode, but
yeah,
because it's mine.
Right.
I'm the second half of the name.
Yeah, you are.
I don't care. Let's give it to Colton.
But that was Colton.
We should have done all of this
Colton
talking before.
No. Colton was 101. So, like, the first 100 episodes were just you and I.
Oh, okay, we're good. So, I get what you're saying. Technically, this is not 100, but...
Yeah, so this is episode either 101 or 102. 102
Let's stop talking about what we're going to talk about and talk about it.
That was terrible delivery. What's
different?
Go ahead.
Let's stop talking about what we're going to talk about, and let's start talking about what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, that's not what you said. You said, let's stop talking about what we're going to talk about and talk about it.
Yeah. That too.
Yeah. So
I think Jesse, the Jessies, specifically David.
Correct.
He takes too long in that sentence. You gotta hit it quick. Get it quick and get out, Jesse.
Yeah, so there's just a sweet critique for somebody whose show is doing light years better than ours.
So 101
Star Wars,
episodes.
pun intended.
100 episodes.
Yeah, so we finished up 100 episodes. We've done a bunch of different interviews. And what's been interesting to me is like through this journey, like I said, we started this off as pandemic. We have a couple of times, and I think we're kind of coming off of it now, but we've hit this wall of, do we still want to do this? Mm-hmm. And like I'm looking, and so
all of the evidence to me points to yes,
right?
But all of the getting up and doing it,
like it's great once the mics are on, and you know, when the mics and the cameras are on, it's so much fun.
It's planning ahead and
getting here and booking the guest and all that stuff. And while that may all seem minimal, like after doing it for 100 and something
2
weeks,
years,
doing it for 2 years straight, like it's really weird. And so as we've been looking at like the attrition rate of the other podcasts that started around the same time that we did,
what was it out of a year?
Pandemic podcast, right? That most podcasts, like 60% of them don't make it past like 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Right. And then like I think the last statistics were like only 3% make it past the first year. And then after that, it's 1. So if we continue, we are in that 1%, which I think is really cool because we've recently discovered listen notes, right? Which is a thing that they are trying to basically create like the Nielsen ratings for podcasts. So they give your podcast a score, and that score coincides with I think the scale's like 1 to 100. And the lower that listen score, the easier it is for people to listen to your show, if I remember right. I'll have to double check that. But essentially, they only give you a listen ranking once you enter into the top 10% of podcasts, which is something that we did earlier this year. And it's so weird to me because like we haven't paid a ton of attention to our metrics.
We just kind of kept recording.
Yeah, we've just like kept doing it and kept going.
And most importantly, finding really cool people that we both wanted to talk to. And somehow...
That's been the biggest challenge.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, for so long, we had just enormous amount of people that we wanted to go talk to, and that, conceivably they wanted to get on a podcast and share what they're working on and their story, which is the most fun part.
And it's been a ton of fun, but it's been an incredible challenge as well. What do you think now, wrapping up year 2, right? Where do you see the guest pool going as we enter into year 3? Because this is the question that I think...
I still haven't answered this question.
This is the question I think is the most important one for us to answer, for our audience to answer. And I got to correct myself. It is a reverse. So the higher the listen score, the better the show. And like Joe Rogan is at a listen score of 97, and that puts him in the 0.01% in the global ranking of podcasts. We're in the top 10% with a listen score of 29 currently. And yeah, July 16th. So
we're 60 points away from
July
Joe.
16th.
We're coming for you, Joe.
Yeah. You're
not the only game in Texas.
We're
son.
on our we're up 2 points since February.
Yeah,
Joseph.
2 points. By that rate, we're going to be on you in about 30
Watch
years.
out, Joseph.
Yeah. Now, for potential guests, I mean, I don't know. There's
because like we've got a couple of people booked, which I'm excited about.
The greatest thing, I think, the challenge, the greatest thing and then the challenge with this is it's given me personally and both of us the opportunity to talk to people that I've been fascinated with, and you've been fascinated with for a long time.
For sure.
We've gotten to talk to most of those people now. So now I'm like, really okay, who's next? Because I feel like I got as much of my A game as I could of people that I really wanted to talk to.
Right.
So now I shouldn't say A and B, but
like
maybe the people
if you were going to put people on that,
I want to talk to Chris Pontius
tier ranking.
I want to talk to Chris Pontius.
That will have to be handled very delicately.
I know, but he's fascinating to me.
Sure. He was to me about 22 years ago.
I mean, so I think well, he still is to me.
Yeah.
I think what was I going to say?
Well, that happens. Hold on.
I hate it when this happens.
I can't.
This isn't going to work.
My mind reading powers are not going to work.
You're going to have to say something and I'm going to remember.
Okay, so these are the things that I'm saying. What I think has worked really well for us in the past, and like you said, there's tiers of sort of the celebrity status. There's like A, B, C, and then Carrie Pomeroli. So, but those are which is just like wiki feet fame, right? Uh-huh. And we love you, Carrie. Shout out to Carrie. So, and good luck with your new Hallmark movies. So we've got A, B, and C kind of tiers, and we've gotten a lot of the B and C stuff. The A-listers we have discovered are not just like high B-listers and low A-listers are incredibly elusive, and it almost seems like they're harder to get than the people that are like way up high at the top that you feel like are unattainable. Like maybe they'll get back with you, maybe you won't. And then there's these other groups where I'm trying to think of who it was. Lee Harden, who was on our show, who was saying that like you know your level of fame by how quickly you respond to a DM on Instagram or Twitter. That like that's where you're at. Like if you don't worry about responding to it, it's like, you know what, you're actually famous. And like,
well, I must be cutting edge then, because I don't check anything.
No,
Instagram. Okay, so back to the question of guests. This is kind of what I've been thinking.
Okay,
is anyone that's listening to the show, we have some kind of commonality. There's something that the listener has heard that that they like. So typically, I kind of see it as an A plus B equals C. A plus B. What's that? What's that? What do you do?
Pythagorean's theorem?
Yeah.
That's A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Yeah.
So if I like it and they like it,
then we formed a right angle triangle.
No. We need to lean in heavier into the things that we like. So musicians,
right?
Comic book artists,
right?
Voice actors, all the things that we've done before, but that's what I like.
Yeah, the stuff that's fascinating us. And we've
chefs. I would love to have a classically trained chef to maybe cook something.
Like a legit chef.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not like
Maddie Matheson.
Okay.
On YouTube.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to do.
I've loved his stuff. I've started following
and there are some people. We've got some people that we have tried to book, and that things didn't work out.
The LA Beast.
Yeah, the LA Beast. Rachel Yankovic.
Yeah,
she was one that I would love to actually get an opportunity to talk with her because I think she's fascinating.
Colin Mockery.
So Colin Mockery from Whose Line Is It Anyway? We've had like these great email exchanges and some stuff that like, yep, we'll get it done, and then something comes up. Dr. Carl Truman's been like that also, but now we've got a firm date with him. Fingers crossed we'll talk to him in September. So he's the author of the New York Times bestseller Rise and Triumph of the Modern Self, as well as he's another book that just came out this year, the name of which is failing me, but he's brilliant. Oxford grad. He's actually a friend of Dominic Doan, who was on our show recently, which has been a ton of fun. I'd love to have we don't do a ton of politics on the show because as much as that stuff interests us, it's just so it takes such a mental and emotional toll to talk about all of that.
Yeah.
It's just a beating.
I've got like a one sentence answer for a bunch of those political topic issues. Like, what is a woman? Right? That's a new thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's pretty simple, actually. I put some thought into it. What is a woman?
This is not something you put thought into. This is a joke that you wrote that you're reading off of the screen. That's what this is. That's what I just want everybody to know. This is being set. He is using what we just talked about as the setup for a joke that he's going to test out to see whether or not he can do it at an open mic.
Okay, that is true.
Yes,
but this isn't exactly a joke. It's just I think I got to the simplest. Because I thought of what is a woman? We've been talking about this a lot.
We've already done all the setup work for it. Just issue the punchline.
Okay. Well, I think it's very easy that there's an international symbol for woman. You can get on a plane and go anywhere on Earth and do this, and they'll go and they'll point to their women, right? You go. I mean, you may have to edit this, but I think that's pretty simple. If you can communicate something, because the question is, what is a woman? That's a very complicated question.
Yeah.
If the answer is complicated. If it's not, if it's a very simple biological answer that everyone knows. In fact, there's
So
there's hand signs.
We did this whole thing about how we weren't going to talk about political stuff, and then you just jumped right into it.
You teed me up. I think that's simple. That's easy.
So we don't normally talk about politics on the show, but like one of the things I think would be beneficial.
If the question was what's a bird, and someone went, oh, like a
like,
yeah, I've seen those.
Are you just like doing like snippets of Matt Walsh's documentary right now? You're just like
I haven't seen it.
You haven't?
No.
Have you seen?
Is that what he says?
Have you seen the previews for it? Because
I've seen the previews.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're basically doing his set list here and like trying to own it as your own. So
no, but he doesn't do that. The sign, the signal that you can go to Africa, you can go to anywhere else. You can go to a white country. You can go to Sweden. I don't speak Swedish.
All this is getting cut. So we don't do a lot of political stuff on the show. Come on. And but we do have some friends that are really well versed in that realm.
Politics?
Yeah, that have been great to talk to. And I think visiting with them a couple of times a year has been really helpful for us. Speaking specifically about Kira Davis and Stephen Mansfield, especially when it comes to kind of translating the extremes, because there are a lot of things that land on the extremes in politics today. And that's one of the reasons I think the country has been so divided. And like I said, we don't want to get into all this stuff, but it's such a power down as soon as people start to talk about it. Hey. Like my brain totally disengages. And before we get to the next line of your set, I think they've done a great job over the last couple of years of really making sure that we have a good understanding, explaining things in terms that we can understand. And they're both very fair. And I've really appreciated the delivery that they've had, and I think they'll be good returning guests. From our other guests that we've had on, who other than those two and David Baker do you want to have back? Because I want to talk to David Baker every week if we can.
I want to have Joseph Carter back.
Yeah,
enough has happened. He's gone through. There's new mink that have been born. He's got new dogs.
He's had dogs pass away.
Yep, his kids are bigger. They're starting to show up in the videos a little bit more.
Oh, right
on. He's still doing awesome things.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Like taking his small predator to a river, going a creek, and just cleaning up the muskrat.
Yeah, and it's been a couple of years since we've talked to him. He'd be a great one to come back on. I want to talk to Graham Parker again because his book.
Got him.
Yeah, Graham Parker's book is about to come out, and so I'm fascinated to talk with him about that and to see kind of where things there have gone. I also want to talk to. So we talked to Troy from Mental Management Systems. Right, from the With Winning in Mind podcast. I really want to talk to his sister, Heather, because Heather does the mental game for dog trainers. So while Troy does like golfers and pitchers and...
It's so lame.
Well, he does all of this stuff that's like...
No, just keep going.
He does all of this stuff that is so specific to objective sports.
It's sports, yeah.
Whereas Heather does subjective stuff. She does... the mental game for pageants and for dog training and for all of these things that are so much of it is subjective. And so I'm curious to see what the approach is and how that's different there. I think that would be a lot of fun for us to do. As we were recently celebrating though, I found out something really interesting about you that I didn't know whenever we were celebrating your son's 13th birthday.
Yeah.
And that's that before you started this podcast, you had a blog. Uh-huh. Talk to me about your blog.
Okay, so you want the real?
Yeah, I want the real.
Okay, because actually what happened is at my son's birthday, setting the
preface,
stage.
I do feel bad about this.
Yeah, it was great. I kept giving you outs too.
Yeah, you did.
There was let's say 30 people at the house celebrating my son's birthday. Most of them were adults.
Which had you just at a 10 on the
stressed out
and the anxiety, like you didn't want to be there,
dude. I was tired. I mean, so I'm proud of. I think
I think we should set this up properly, like all the way, right? So your wife, God love her,
yeah,
your wife is a big fan of the family get together. Mm-hmm. She loves the family get together.
She'll make lasagna soup for everybody.
She will, but she wants to do it on Friday after work.
I do have to give her a little credit.
For everybody.
I have been hounding her with stopping. Don't don't plan anything this weekend. I'm tired of it. There's always something. I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
And so she didn't. She put it on Friday night so that I'd have all day Saturday. With that lens, there's some thought into it.
Okay.
But, at the time I was,
I get a call.
I'm trying to be a good host.
Nobody gets together for this until 7:00, right? I get a call from Danley at 1 saying, I don't want to go home. People are going to start showing up in my house in 6 hours.
It's the worst.
And I already don't want to be there.
It's the worst, and they're all my family, and I love them. In addition to my family was my next door neighbor, Bob.
Right.
Bob
and some so Kirsten and I show up early so that we can go and kind of help out.
In addition to
be
close
buffer.
Friends and family.
Yeah.
Was my neighbor Bob, who was literally close. Next door.
I tried to get out of by saying, "Hey, we're not really family," and you were like, "No, you should come."
Yeah, no, you're
and
family.
We had recently just gotten over this was our first outing post round 2 of COVID for us, which was a little like.
So you harassed Bob and possibly exposed him to COVID.
Yeah, so that's not true. We Kirsten and I we quarantined properly. We both tested and were negative. So we made sure all necessary
I didn't bring
precautions.
up COVID. You did.
We made sure all necessary precautions were taken.
So, anyways,
just so that YouTube knows.
So Bob, I like Bob and I like my neighbors, but I also
but nobody knows neighbor Bob except for you and your family.
Correct.
Right. So 3 of the 30 people there, 1/10 of the people there know neighbor Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And neighbor Bob comes over. Now neighbor Bob is. Like in what age bracket? Like is he drawn Social Security?
70, so maybe 60s.
I was trying to be a little more gentle than that, but yeah. So he's just
calm. I don't think he would care. He's not watching this.
Yeah, no,
he thinks it's a blog.
Okay, that's the thing. All right, so
okay. So Bob sits down. We're sitting there talking. Mm-hmm. Bob sits down and he says, "Hey," we're chit chatting. He says, "Hey, how's your blog doing?" And I immediately know that he's referring to the podcast that I've mentioned to him a couple times.
Sure. And to be fair, at this point, I think maybe he's referring to the podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe Bob got it wrong because he doesn't know.
So this is the type of guy I am.
He's just an internet thing.
Rather than immediately, this is going to sound mean, but rather than correcting an elderly person.
So ageist.
I just go with it. Right? So he said, how's your blog? I say, yeah, it's fine.
That's not what you said.
What did I say?
You said, well, it kind of turned into a podcast.
Oh yeah, okay. So I graciously
you didn't. You lied.
Graciously, I lied.
You lied.
It was a very gracious, love-filled lie.
So this is where
to avoid hurt feelings.
This is where the trouble starts.
You ruined
would not have hurt his feelings if you would have said it was.
No, it wasn't a blog.
It was a podcast.
Bob, you blob idiot. It's a podcast.
So if you would have just said that,
you freaking old guy.
If you would have just said that, the next 8 minutes,
and he would have his feelings hurt at me, his neighbor who has to see him, versus you who started it all next door.
He wouldn't have had his feelings hurt at all. He would have just been like, "Oh, it was a podcast as a blog. No worries."
No, I'm an idiot. Okay.
So I don't think everybody internalizes things the way that you do. Oh, I did something wrong. I must be an idiot.
Well, that's what I hear. When I get something wrong, I'm like, I'm an idiot.
How often does the little man in your head say, "I'm an idiot" during our show?
A couple times.
Because I don't hesitate to say, like, "Oh, really? Is that what you meant?"
Whenever I go on, it's really typically when I don't care about that.
Yeah,
it's when I go out on a limb and I think something's going to be funny, and it's just crickets, or
like a portion of the show that got cut.
Yeah, or you go, "We're cutting that."
Yeah,
that's you stupid. You wasted 10 minutes of time, and
okay, so
you're going to have to edit it out later.
Why do you think Bob would feel that way about him being like, "Hey, so are you still doing that blog?" And then you saying, "Well, it was..."
So it's not much about a podcast. It's not as much about protecting his feelings. The other part is, I don't want to explain it. I'm tired. We've already talked about this.
Okay, so here's the thing that happens. I
see a simple solution.
I think at first, on the same plane that Danley's on, like, Bob obviously mistook the blog and podcast, and so like he said blog.
He doesn't look at blogs or podcasts,
right? But he said
100%.
He said blog. What he meant was podcast, right? That's what I think. Until you say, Well, it turned into a podcast.
Yeah, I lied.
Now, all of a sudden, in my head, Danley has had this secret blog that I don't know anything about. So now in front of... Okay, so this is only about half the people. There's only about 15 of us outside because all of the girls that are either new moms or moms that have recently given birth that have been moms for whatever.
It's too hot.
They're all inside.
It's too hot for them.
Yeah, but they're all inside with my wife and the children.
Yeah,
because
so there's no one outside to.
Yeah, so there's no
referee.
There is nobody outside that's going to stop me, and that's the problem in this scenario. Is because I'm like
you're trying to figure it out.
I'm like an Akita who just found a bone full of marrow, and I'm like, this is the most interesting thing in my life.
Tell me about your blog, Danley. Yeah, and by the way, for the visual, it's me. For the visual, it's me, Bob on a couch, and then Lucas next to Bob. So Lucas is talking.
I'm in between y'all.
Okay, so we're sitting together. The point I'm getting as my visual, where you're turning to me and going, "What was your blog about? Was it a good one?"
So that's what happened. So I want to know about Danley's blog. So I was like, "Hey, so what was your blog about?"
I was like, "It's nothing." I'm like, "Shut up."
But you start answering questions about the blog,
and that's just catnip for you.
You start answering.
I start lying.
Very, very, very poorly questions about your blog, and so it's obvious to me. You don't want to talk about the blog, which now makes it like that much more interesting. It's like somebody just threw barbecue sauce on this bone that I just found. I'm like, oh, well, now this is really tasty.
So questions that were brought up. Let's get to that.
Immediately want to know, like, hey, what was on this blog? And you're like, it was just a blog. I was like, what do you mean?
I did move to the truth here that I said, there was something about that we're on iTunes. Like I wrote something on our website.
Okay.
We did technically have a blog.
But not before the podcast.
Correct.
So we're still on the lie of it turned into a podcast. So the blog, which came first, the blog or the podcast? The blog in this narrative that we're getting at the party.
The blog came first. Bob brought it up and I confirmed it. I said the blog was the thing and then it turned into a podcast.
So I immediately want to know, like, okay, so what was the blog about? And Danley's like,
if there was a court stenographer there that night, you would have had her read it back.
Yeah. It was just a blog. I just started writing. I was like, yeah, so it's a blog. So what kind of blog posts did you? I just did a couple of posts. I was like, yeah, where can I find them? Where are these at? And so as he's being
Bob, do you think Danley should write more?
Wait, so before I get to Bob, you start being really evasive about this blog that I have just found out about that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so I start asking the other people in this circle, your siblings and parents and brother and sister, well, I guess brother-in-law and then cousins, right? Hey, did you guys know Danley had a blog? Why isn't Danley doing his blog anymore? Has anybody else read any of Danley's blog? Why am I just now finding out that Danley had a blog? And at first, all of them are like, I think he meant podcast. But as I keep pushing it and you keep being evasive... Now
it just encourages you
now
more. Now
I have thrown the room into a bit of mild confusion as they're like, except for everybody except for your sister who sees through all of this and reads your discomfort appropriately and goes, yeah, Danley, why'd you stop doing that blog? If you've got a gift like that, why would you hide it from anybody? So Bob has no idea what's going on. And Bob even chimes in a couple of times, making it more confusing. He was like, well, you were doing it steady for almost like 2 years. Why did you stop doing it? And I was like, whoa,
yeah,
this is a long-term blog.
It was the most uncomfortable I've been in weeks.
And then so I asked Bob, I was like, so... I get everybody on my side.
I made a lie and you made me sit in it.
And so I get everybody on my side that you need to restart the blog. And you're like, yeah, well, fine. I'll fire.
So fine.
I'll fire the blog back up.
Fine,
right?
No problem.
And
we can stop talking about this. I'll write a freaking blog.
You are becoming more and more adamant about defending the non-existent blog. As more questions, you're like, it was a blog. It was about nothing. It was just, I needed an outlet, so I used the blog.
I said that.
Yeah, and so
was I the one that brought up? I just lost it again.
Well, I asked Bob
what I should write about.
Yeah, I asked Bob as you become more and more defensive, and as the room. So another thing you should know about this gathering is that this is an apolitical gathering because there's a lot of people in this outside group.
Oh, yeah. They're all over the spectrum.
That are not on the same page.
We're family friends. We're not political friends.
So I asked Bob, hey, Bob, if Danley just said he's going to restart the blog, what do you think his first topic should be? He didn't
miss a beat.
And Bob goes, abortion.
and
the room,
and it just gets
like the patio,
quiet.
Which had been like raucous with laughter and people asking Danley about the blog, and Danley's frustration and defensiveness just goes totally silent.
Yeah. And I do think
at this point,
Bob, I believe, is on the right politically, if I had to guess.
Oh, well, judging by his statements that followed, absolutely.
He was on the right, and my brother at this point leans over. Is this what you were going to tell?
No. Go ahead with that.
So my brother leans over after Bob says, abortion, is a great topic to write about. And I'm going, God. My brother leans over, who is not right. He's not on the righty. He leans over and says, I think I think a woman should choose what she does with her own body. And I went, what is happening? I don't have a blog. I'm not writing about abortion. I don't want to talk about this. This is my son's 13th birthday party. Bring the cake.
So as the word abortion is yelled out, my very pregnant wife's belly crests the patio door, and she comes outside and looks directly at Bob and then at me. And what
with
she
judgment.
Yeah, she looks at me. She looks at me with a ton of judgment.
What are you doing?
Because she went over, she grabbed a drink from the cooler, walked back inside. I go inside, and she looks at me and she goes, "What were you doing out there?" I was like, "What do you mean? What was I doing?" She goes, "That man yelled abortion as soon as I walked outside." I was like, "Right." She goes, "But."
Not about
She's
you.
like, I looked at him and then I looked at you, and she goes, "And the look on your face let me know that you did that."
Oh yeah. Yeah, and
so
then
as I'm trying to explain
I had to
all
get
of
away.
this, I'm trying to explain all this to her. Everything erupts back outside. And I was like, "No, did you know Danley had a blog?" You come inside and you're immediately like, "I didn't have a blog," and you know that I didn't. So at this point now, I'm on the defensive. Have to explain the entire story to you.
I think what I said was, I don't have a blog, and you know that, but I will go get one.
I will go get one. And you said you were going to buy a website and start a blog, and your website was going to be what?
LucasFriggin-Dropic.blog.
Well, you said .com.
Oh, okay.
And then I made the suggestion that, why not do a blogspot?
Yeah. No, because I want this permanent.
Yeah, LucasFriggin-Dropic.blogspot.com.
Yep. But so, yeah, very, very funny. I haven't talked to Bob since.
So,
but he didn't care.
Oh, which is good, because now, so after we talk.
Bob's cool.
After we talk, and I find out that you had just told this lie in order to try to cover everything up.
Yeah, I was just trying to. It was the definition of a white lie.
Now to
save my neighbor's feelings from publicly being
okay, but now
shown as you were wrong. It's
now
not blind.
I'm
You're
really uncomfortable.
I didn't make you do that.
No. I know. You did not.
As a good pastor, you could have let me sit in the lie.
I could.
But your super sniffer picked that up. You couldn't resist, but tear it open like a 2-year-old on Christmas.
So here's the thing.
Let's change that to 4-year-old.
Like
Christmas.
after that happened, right? Like Kirsten and I left pretty soon afterwards, as your wife cut us that cake.
That was my fault. Comically small. It was me. I was worried about not having enough cake for everybody.
This cake was measured in square centimeters whenever it was distributed onto
plates. It was 1 square inch. It was 1 inch by 1 inch.
They were tiny.
On huge plates.
Yeah, they're enormous, like platter size.
It was an unfortunate decision I made that I said she was cutting it, and I looked around. I was like, cut that smaller. Just to make sure there's enough for everybody.
So everybody got a bite of cake.
And we ended up having plenty of cake left over.
Because you rationed it.
Because the one sheet cake we made last half of it for 30 people.
You rationed it like, all right, here's everybody's Christmas cake.
Y'all enjoy the cake and then get
front
out.
Lines of Verdun. So we leave shortly after that. Well, you had made such a big deal about the Bob thing that now, like, I'm sitting.
I didn't make a big deal.
Oh, you did when we were in the kitchen. And we were talking about this. You made such a big deal about it.
That wasn't you, man. That was just me being tired.
I know. So we're on the way home, and Kirsten, she's lovingly asking me these questions, like,
"Okay,
hey, do you think that really bothered Bob?"
No.
I'm like, what? I don't know if it bothered Bob or not. She goes, Danley kind of made it seem like that might bother Bob. You know, Bob is their neighbor. Bob's been really nice to their kids. He's really nice to all the kids in the neighborhood.
Every one of our birthdays, he brings over a bottle of wine or cake for Kale or whatever.
Yeah, like he's Gift really card. Sweet to everybody that lives in y'all's cul-de-sac. Right? Bob is great.
He's a celebrity in the Coconino sack.
He is, but
I've never said that before.
But your
sack.
Idiot blogging partner just went and like disrupted the entire apple cart. So
I thought it was hysterical.
Okay, so we start talking about it. I'm like, well, do you think I should I can't go apologize to Bob?
No.
Right? So like I send you a message but like late at night. We get home and it's like 11 because this party was supposed like on a Friday night after everybody's worked.
7 to 10.
7 to 10. Right? We leave early and we don't get home until 10. So as everybody,
now if it was a rager, that would be
house
different.
Guests are leaving, yeah, or if we were still in college,
yeah.
But like as your house guests are leaving, I shoot you the message of like, hey, if Bob was bothered, if Bob was bothered by this text message, let him know it was an actual mistake. And you're like, nah, Bob's fine, and if he's not, we'll figure it out.
I didn't want that level of interaction that I had,
right.
And again, this is not saying that I don't want my family over.
Yeah, for sure.
They can come over sometimes.
Yeah.
But I didn't want that level. Uh-huh. I didn't also want on top of that homework to go fix things that happen.
You're just like, nah,
I was like, no.
Bob's just going to think you're a jerk.
What's done is done.
Yeah.
When I see Bob again in 3 months, I might bring it up.
Yeah, there you go.
Because he'll stop by and he'll say, hey, Dan. I'll say, hey, abortion. You remember that? You want to talk about?
I don't really have a blog, Bob.
By the way, we gotta bleep abortion. Is that one of the words that
I don't know.
You get
we'll find out.
For?
We'll find out whenever this episode airs. Yeah. We did find out that we have, and it's not on all of our stuff, but there are certainly some of our episodes that do have that on there, especially any of them that have had.
Dear Butthole got through.
Yeah, it did, but nobody cared about that. It was that's
a story my dad told.
The people
for those
that we had from a satirical site like those have been, and a few others, which has been a little odd. Okay, so now that we're entering into the third trimester of pregnancies, we're doing some life updates. We are on a new round of chickens.
Yeah.
New chickens have gone to the farm. Chickens have come back. We've got that. Mom and Dad are doing much better. I know we had a little conversation about that with Jeremy Nunez after he survived COVID. Both my parents had it pretty bad. Dad, Mom lived with us for like a month after she got out of the hospital with COVID. Dad for about 3 weeks. And he was on oxygen in the evenings. He's now doing much better. They've got him on some kind of like so he goes to fulfill this prescription, right, to get this prescription filled, and it takes him like a month to do it. And the reason it takes him a month to do it is because he goes to the pharmacy. The guy at the pharmacy's like, no, yeah, we'll have it in a couple of days. We get a special order. This isn't something we keep on hand. No problem. He keeps calling him. Finally, he talks to the head pharmacist, and the head pharmacist is like, hey, look, I got to talk to your doctor before I can give this. He's like, why? And he goes, I have to make sure your doctor is able to write this prescription. He's like, what are you talking about? He's a doctor. He wrote the prescription. You should just fulfill
it. What do you want to do? Give him a colonoscopy?
Yeah,
and
right.
See if he's good first?
No, the doctor has to have like certain credentials and a certain number of years in practice to be able to write this specific prescription, because basically what it does
was it for crack?
It's some kind of cardiopulmonary thing. Mm-hmm. That basically like strips Dad's. It works in conjunction with prednisone to strip Dad of all of his immunities, and so
that makes sense why they would restrict it.
Right. So like over the course of he started it in March. So over the course of the last,
let's make sure this is a doctor with credentials and not another very funny Jake Paul prank.
Yeah, and so over the course of the last like awesome 3 or 4 months, it would be terrible. I mean, it would kill somebody.
Strip everyone.
Yeah,
immunity.
So, but over the course of the last like 3 or 4 months, really 4 months, his body has gone through this thing to where like he has no immunity to anything, and he's got an appointment in the next few weeks. So if you guys are people of prayer, we'd appreciate some prayers for old Papa Cap. because if he gets a good bill of health, or it looks like things are happening there in August, if things go well, then they'll wean him off of this medicine, which takes 3 months to wean off of. And then he'll have to take a month where he's not hanging out with anybody. So if the timeline fits as is, he is likely to miss the birth of our kid and maybe our kiddo's first Christmas. Like, because like October is when the baby's due, and then and then Christmas is there. So that's been a bit of a tough thing to kind of wrap our heads around over the last few months, as we're seeing this goalpost sort of get moved for what that looks like. But we're hoping that, that if he gets the all clear, he'll be like halfway through the weaning off of the medicine in October when the baby's born. And so there may be some ways that we can get them around each other.
He would love that you keep saying weaning.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
Right now, whenever he's listening to this, he's going, wean.
Yeah, so that'll be a big thing that happens for us. I just got off of doing preaching a couple of camps for Lifeway, which were really fun. We did some centrifuge camps. I was preaching at Southwestern Theological Seminary and at Houston Baptist University.
Is it called? Is it like stolen holy valor if I pretend to be a pastor?
Sort of. Here's the difference. With stolen valor, like you refer to it, you're taking credit for something else which is judged by man, right? What you're doing is taking credit for something which will be later judged by God.
So the good news is I haven't actually taken credit. I've said basically.
Why are you trying to justify yourself to me?
I'm basically a pastor.
Yeah, like you trying to justify yourself to me is not going to do you any good.
I said.
Like I don't get to. I'm not the ultimate judge of you in this specific category.
I mean, there's not like a head pastor. That's like a.
We're not Catholic.
No, different.
There's not like a pope.
That's what I was getting at.
That's going to do it. Yeah, you're going to have to. Convene,
so you're
saying, have to convene with the ghost of Charles Spurgeon to see whether or not you're.
So you're saying in the Protestant view, no one is closer to God other than Jesus?
Yes, correct.
Okay, cool.
Jesus is God in the Protestant.
I would like to talk about something when you're done.
Okay, yeah. So the end of the life update stuff is
flopping around.
We've got the baby coming. The camps and stuff went well. It's a blast to get to do that, and it's an incredible encouragement, and I can't say enough about not just the leaders that take their kids to the centrifuge camps, the way the centrifuge is run, but if you see on a resume that somebody has been a staffer at a centrifuge camp, hire them. And here's why: is because they are 18 to 24-year-old high school graduates and college students that are working from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. 5:30 a.m. till like 11 p.m. or midnight. Our very first meeting of the morning started at 6:15, and our very first event started at 7 a.m.
Those guys can party.
But they're working from 5 a.m. to 11 or midnight every day of the summer. So you're talking like between 90 and 100 days. Some of these kids are working like between 35 and 40 days without days off. Like they'll have a group of 300 to 500 campers that leaves on a morning, and then they get in a new group of 300 to 500 campers that afternoon.
See what I did?
Like they're absolutely insane. And that one of the big knocks that we give against the millennials and against Gen Z is that they're lazy and they don't know how to work. So I am telling you right everything. Now, if you see somebody who says Fuge Camp staffer on their resume, that person will ball out for you. They're some of the hardest working people that I've ever been around, and it was really, really cool to get to see that, because it gives me hope that especially the students that we're working with, like at our church and with the outreach stuff that we're doing, that they're capable of way more than they think they are, because there are students that are doing it and that do have that work ethic and the ability to go get it. So there you go. That's what I got there.
Centrifuge. Shout out to Centrifuge.
Yeah, shout out to Fuge.
From the pastor, not the basically a pastor, but from the other one. From the real one. Okay, this is what I want to talk about.
Great.
There's so many things.
Okay, I don't just pick one from your set list and let's talk about it.
This isn't a set list.
Okay.
These are some jokes, but they also have ideas. One of them would.
You know what I feel like? I feel like this
has been a good episode.
This has been the interaction between like, you know, when Mitch Hedberg did strategic grill locations, like his first one, he was like, there's a guy on my list here, and these are the list of the jokes that'll be on the CD. These are the CD jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lists are helpful.
I feel like this is your list of these are the podcast
these
jokes.
Are topics.
These are the pod. And if you don't hear this podcast joke, it didn't make it on the podcast.
Okay.
One of the list is bending up.
So
that was the best part of
that was the best part. All right. So what I want to talk about this is a cautionary tale. There's so many things that have happened the past month or two. We haven't
cautionary tales with Westerby.
Yeah, cautionary tales. This is the caution.
Yeah.
Be careful coming to Texas and talking about man buns. As we saw, very surprisingly, from our friend
Lee Harden. Okay, so we did, and his interview recently aired, so people will likely be familiar with it.
After that interview in real time,
he did
a set. He did a show.
He did a pop-up show here at the church. He was supposed to do a half-hour set. He did an hour.
It was hysterical. The funniest thing to me,
most of it was pretty funny.
Yeah,
there were a couple of things.
I thought it was funny.
There were a couple of things that he abandoned.
Oh yeah,
he got
in his head.
He abandoned them, but they were gold afterwards, because there were a couple of people that went up to him when he was selling some merch and stuff. And I know what you're getting at is going to get to that. So they asked him, they're like, "Hey, so did that joke have an end?" And then he told the punchline, and it killed at the merch table.
Yeah,
like everybody, the merch table loved it. And he was like, "Oh, I should have done it." But a lot of his new material
what actually
was great.
happened, and the reaction is what just killed me.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell the
he
joke.
destroyed with that line of, I think he said I could have sworn he said the punchline that Satan wears a man bun.
Yeah,
and the reaction from typically, if I was doing an average age, there were some kids, but most of them were older.
Right,
older Texas.
Right,
largely country folk. And this is
or at largely blue collar.
Yeah, okay, that's the right way to say it. So he says Satan wears man buns.
Right.
And I get to watch the reaction of the audience as they initially laugh and then start thinking that, hey, sometimes our pastor has his hair up. Right? And so it goes from laughing, and then it gets quiet, and it turns to like booing, and then going, you can't talk about our pastor?
It was this weird groan that happened. It was like,
oh yeah.
And he was like, man buns is the line? Like,
this is Texas. And I'm just losing it, because I know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
That they wanted to laugh, and they thought it was funny, and then they had your back.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
So there's a couple of times where like he made some jokes that should have got a groan, and they got big laughs, and he was like, wait, so like that's fine.
He's like, man buns are out, but you can joke about
that, like, you know, murder.
Great. So,
but like man buns are out. And,
so be careful.
And
if you're a comedian coming to Texas talking about man buns, you might not get the reaction that you expect.
And then he shows his merch shirt, and I wish we'd have had it, or I wish I had mine, because I'd have shown it. There's a shirt that he sells that says Satan wears a man bun, and it's a guy that looks a lot like me wearing glasses.
Yeah, it was very funny.
It has devil horns.
The fact that he didn't plan it was my favorite part.
Yeah, that was absolutely awesome. And shout out to Lee, who is still
he's probably still confused,
working hard. Working hard. He was like,
Texas,
I didn't know. I've never seen you in a man bun.
Buns. I
was like, I actually don't have. I don't wear a man bun.
Right,
but there are some times when I have my hair up.
Sometimes,
right. Rarely.
And the people processed it.
They
decided they didn't like that. Smart man coming in talking about their pastor.
You know what? I'll tell you, there is a little bit of pride for me. And like, hey, you know what? There are some congregations.
They overcame their baser instincts of hating man buns.
Even the people that hate my hair were like, you can't wait a minute. Yeah. It was great.
It was fantastic.
It was so awesome.
That was it. That's something we haven't gotten to talk about. And there's a million things we have to talk about. We haven't. We should stop talking about them and talk about it.
Yeah. So one of
them's Fan Expo. Yeah, but we don't have to do that now.
No. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. One of the things that I loved the most about the man bun thing was There's a member of our congregation who just recently, like a couple of weeks ago, passed away. Like, it did his funeral. His name was Ronnie Rambo. Ronnie was one of the guys that was most encouraging to me whenever I was just working as the youth pastor at our church. And he told me, he's a bass player, played bass professionally, like in Colorado and in Dallas for a really long time. Super, super great guy, and had battled cancer and a bunch of other things. And anyway, he told me, and I told this story at his funeral, he was like, you know what, you should keep your hair long. I was like, why? Like, so many people, hate it. And he's an older guy, he's in his 70s, and he's like, no, I think you should keep your hair long. I was like, why? And he goes, you shouldn't make people look too hard to find something to complain about. And then, so like that's
the theory is give them some low hanging fruit that you don't care about.
Yeah, like that. Oh, they're going to complain about the hair. He's like, fine. just don't make him look for something to complain about, right? And he's like, and you can get away with a lot more. It was fantastic.
That is a brilliant idea.
Absolutely fantastic advice. But now I got to rethink that, because as soon as Lee came in with his joke series, people were like, no, you can't talk that way about it. So it was just funny to kind of see that come full circle.
It was hysterical. I could not believe that happened.
It was so good.
A bunch of older Texans decided that man buns are fine.
They're okay as long as it's me that's complaining about it.
Yes.
Nobody else gets to complain about this.
And again, Lee did a great job. He was very funny.
It's kind of that thing where, like, I can say something to my wife,
but
you can't.
Yeah.
And it's the same. I'm sure it's going to be the same way with, I don't know if it's that way with your son. For us, like, I think I could say things about your son, and we can have an honest conversation about it. But I think if
kids are a different story too.
Well, I know,
like,
but I also think that if another person were to say some of the stuff that I've mentioned to or about your kid, like, game over.
We might not be friends.
Yeah, exactly. Like when your son, we just said he's 13.
Yeah, when you helped him wash his armpits.
Yeah, that's exactly. I walked in a room and I was like, hey, when's the last time you put on deodorant? And that was,
you got to tell him his answer.
Yeah. He's like, it's been a couple of days.
Days?
Yeah.
13-year-old boy. Days.
So here's how you fix that. Here's a stick of deodorant and some isopropyl alcohol, because you can't shower here.
You can take a homeless man bath.
Yeah, there you go.
In the sink with alcohol.
Yeah, that's it. And then, wash your face and you'll
Smell
be good.
Great.
So, but those are the kind of things
Next time,
that, like,
wear deodorant.
If somebody else does that, then there's likely an issue.
Yeah,
that is the way that joke landed.
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, he does have
you
a wait
talk
a
about
minute. You're not allowed to say that. Yeah, kind of thing. So. Again, thanks, Lee, for coming.
Yeah. He was funny. He got to work
very
out.
Funny.
He got to work out new material, which was great.
He told a cocaine joke at our church, which is the feedback that I got. Was like, hey, so we're good with cocaine jokes, and then because we did it in, like, the kids ministry area. He's like, so we're okay with cocaine jokes in kids ministry. I was like, well, he's
I hope
working on new
so,
material,
because I've mentioned cocaine in the kids area too.
Which is why you don't work back there anymore. That's why.
Hey, kids.
Yeah. So we did moving along. We did get an opportunity to go to Dallas Fan Expo, which was really good.
Oh, that was so cool.
But also, speaking of things Danley gets in his head about, right? So we
just say
it. So there's a couple of things that I think are pretty interesting as our podcast has progressed. The first is that Danley is exceedingly more and more talking into the side of his microphone than into the front of it.
Wait, does that matter?
So that's number one. The second,
it's fixed.
The second is you're so much louder now.
Yeah.
The second is that as we have progressed as a show, right, you have gotten more and more in your head about whether or not we should tell people that this exists, right? So we've started, like,
I know, and nowhere was it more apparent at the Fan Expo.
So we set it up before, like, we're not really gonna look at metrics, and so we didn't for like the first year and a half, but we've looked at them for like the last 6 months, and we are ahead of what the quote unquote the average, right? I won't say the normal, because we don't do things for, there is no such thing as normal. Everybody pitches to, like, the averages, right? And statisticians and, educators and all this stuff are going to be like, well, if you teach to the averages, or if you do things to the averages, what you're basically doing is you're dumbing things down for everybody. So when we're looking at the statistical averages, though, where podcasts that are 2 years in are at, we are ahead of the averages for the amount of downloads and stuff that we have. And so like we've got that. We had listen notes that finally started ranking us because we've like hit that threshold of the top 10% of podcasts worldwide. We've got all of this good stuff happening. Like we've had a couple of advertisers that are like, hey, we'd like to do stuff. And we're like, all right, we'll think about it.
This is such a great story.
We apply for...
You gotta say the whole story truthfully.
We apply for Fan Expo in Dallas.
Which is essentially it's Comic-Con. It's very similar.
Right. And it's a big deal because like the headliner for this Fan Expo are the 4 hobbits from the Lord of the Rings, right? And if
all the cast of Dexter,
right? And so if you've listened to it's then WWE stars, all the Trailer Park
Undertaker
Boys,
was there. Trailer Park Boys, I love those guys.
There were a lot of the voice actors
from Star Wars,
from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and
Ahsoka was there.
Yeah,
I don't remember her name.
Yeah, Ashley Eckstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's there, and then there's a lot of like professional cosplayers. Like this is done incredibly well. Fan Expo was such a great experience. Not to mention all of the people that were on like Comic Book Row, and a few of them will actually get to interview on the show within the next few weeks and months. So we're really excited about that. So stay tuned because we've got some incredible interviews coming.
Also stay tuned for the end of the story
in that regard. But the level of where we're at and some of the notoriety that we're getting is starting to get bumped up, and we've been privately very excited about it. So as that's happening, right?
Yeah.
We decide to apply for Fan Expo. They put out
long
an
shot.
all call.
We figured it was a long shot.
I think they said they had something like 500 applicants. They were going to take 12. We end up being one of the 12. So we go on right after Friday Night Tights. Right. And if you don't know about them, they go live every Friday night. They're typically a little late. That's part of the charm of the show. But it's 5 guys that are comic book writers and reviewers and social commentators. And
Quarter Black Garrett.
Yeah. And they have hundreds of thousands of people that watch this show live. Like IMDb has it listed as a television show because it's got so many views.
That's what I want.
And all that. So like it's insane. So we know that we're going on after them and they're gonna pack the place out. Well, we get notified a week before Fan Expo that they're like, hey, you guys have been selected. This is when you're going on. You were one of our top 12. This is your time slot. And we're both completely stoked. Like we both see the email about the same time. We're checking it on our phones. We see it and we're like, oh my gosh, did you see this? Yeah, I saw it. Oh, we're going to be at Fan Expo. This is going to be so great. The next day, I talked to Danley and I'm like, so, how do we want to do the Fan Expo? And Danley's like, I don't want to promote it. What? I don't really want to talk about the Fan Expo. It's like, what are you talking about? We get to go and do Fan Expo. And he's like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So like, let's not really say anything. Let's not really promote it.
Can I jump to the conclusion of what happens
or anything? No,
okay.
We're gonna drag this out. So that's Sunday. That is what I get Sunday afternoon.
Mm-hmm. So essentially we've got a week at this point.
Yeah. Tuesday, right? We get ready to talk about the episode that we're doing here, and I get this. I'm worried about doing it. It's like being there. It just seems weird. Like, are we going to be in front of everybody? Are we going to be? I don't really know. It's not until Thursday afternoon that he says, okay, I think I'm going to do it. Friday afternoon, he's like, should we promote it? We've got to be there Saturday doing the show.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Not enough time to promote it.
Yeah, so go ahead and give us the conclusion of the story.
So the story is what happened. This is another cautionary tale. We showed up. You should go ahead and promote things.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
It helps keep people there.
Right.
So what happened is we started our show after Friday Night Tights. Their crowd had been sitting there for an hour listening to them.
Right, and they cleared the room. That was one of the things that the people that were running. Leave. Yeah, the people that were running the room, or the guy that was running the room. Now, this is not.
This would be akin to, like Conan didn't make it on the Tonight Show.
Right.
He had someone before him that didn't set his show up very well.
Right.
Essentially, if NBC had said like, okay, everyone turn off your TVs now.
Yeah. And so
that's what it felt like.
And so I want to be really clear here that this was the guy that was the handler for the Friday Night Tights people.
This wasn't the people running the show.
That cleared the room. The people that were running the room that did all the live stuff. They do this for all of the fan expos around the country and in Canada. The folks from the Chuck Load of Comics podcast, Chuck and his wife were awesome.
Yeah.
They were unbelievable to work with. They were
and
so
next time
kind.
We're going to promote it.
They were so kind. They did an awesome job. The recording that you've heard, if you've listened to our thing from Fan Expo, is what they did. So is the video, the footage that you got, or that we posted on YouTube is from them. The Chuck Load of Comics team, incredible. The handler from the Friday Night Tights, it was like, hey, everybody clear out. There's another podcast going. You can talk to all of those guys in the hallway. Get them out of here. Took the Friday Night Tights audience, and then the few people that came in to see us saw that Quarter Black Garrett and all of these people were now like walking out, and they're like, oh, you know what? I've seen his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Skirt.
Even I wanted to. You told me Quarter Black Garrett's here. I was like, what? Where?
Yeah. But, so there was this.
So, first one, there's a lot of learning that I did.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Number one is go ahead and have a run sheet, plan out some stuff to talk about.
We did have a topic that we were going to do.
I brought my family this year, which I don't think I'm going to do next year. Or if they come, it'll be a day we're not broadcasting.
Okay, yeah.
Because there was a lot of hanging out with them. And that afterwards I went, probably should have spent some more time prepping
for the show
and not geeking out over the trailer park. I got to go to the Trailer Park Boys Q&A, which again is not something that this show endorses, but I do.
Right.
Except it's a good show. Don't watch it.
Yeah, don't watch it, and definitely don't watch it if you have kids or
it's
people around that you think you're going to ever see again in your life and that you want to have respect.
The language and topics are terrible.
They're awful. So, but that said, the hour before the show, we decided we were going to meet up. And there is no Danley. It's me and Kirsten, who is not as pregnant, and Danley's son, and Kale, who is very deodoranted at this time. And we're all there in gear that was provided for us by the very lovely and talented Splashly Cox from Fangirling Over Jesus.
I got to get those shirts back from you and send them back.
Yeah, well, I think one of them's got a mustard stain, but that's okay. So, but we're all geared out with stuff that Ashley has sent us, and she's a doll for doing that. She's absolutely awesome. We'll check her stuff out. But your son the entire time is wanting to know, where's my dad? He's supposed to be here. And I'm like, I
don't know, buddy.
I don't know where he's at, because you're right. We should be going over our notes for the show.
Yeah.
But we didn't. And we did have a topic, though.
Well, I always wish we did.
Yeah. We did have a topic, though. We had one going into it about, how to book a guest for your podcast. That is, and it did air. It's one of our more listened to episodes here recently, because I think a lot of people are curious on how to do that. There's still a lot of people that are
other people have noticed, hey, these guys have gotten some pretty cool people.
Yeah, and they'll listen to episodes like this one and be like, they're dumb. Like, why? How is it that they've gotten these great people? Because they're in the grand scheme of things, we are. If there's A, B, C, Carrie Pomeroli.
There's at least one of them that's really dumb.
Yeah, and there's several
because
levels
at the
under
Fan
Carrie
Expo
Pomeroli before there's us.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, like Carrie's
been on the Tonight Show 30 times.
Right, but her landscapers, I think,
General Hospital,
are more popular than we are.
And I was an extra one time in Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah, when you were how old?
I don't know, 12, 13.
So this is a 25-year-old credit that you're trying to continually use?
No, I was using it as reference for why I am much lower than Carrie.
I was once a model for Dillard's.
Yeah, perfect example.
Yep, it's not helpful.
What'd you wear?
I don't remember. I don't know, probably something like plaid.
Yeah.
It was a lot of plaid back in the 90s.
It was in the 90s, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and it was the boys catalog, so I was like, I was little, like, he's cute and blonde and, nearly transparent. Let's put him in something plaid. see if we can fix his pigmentation with the lighting.
Fan Expo, awesome.
But yeah, it was great. It was a really lot of fun experience.
I wish we had promoted it.
And we did make some cool connections with some people. You did get to see the Trailer Park Boys. Kirsten and I got to watch all of the Hobbits. We posted some of that stuff on our Instagram page, which you should go check out at Rev Rep Podcast on Instagram. And it has been.
And then we get to give our passes to friends for the next day.
So it's been a crazy 2 years going from recording our first couple of episodes, wondering like whether or not this is going to work, and those will never see the light of day, to like figuring out that like our stories and our friendship, we've kind of got some legs with the podcasting stuff, shifting into having these incredible guests that have been on, and we've done some stuff in the last couple of years. It's been really fun and really creative. The last year's series that we did with the Rev and Rep Investigates, when we did the Ross Ulbricht story, when we did David Gant, we've got another one of those that if you've been listening to the show, you've heard us prep it a few times. We are one of the guests that we've been working to get on is the lady. Her name is
Kira Sedgwick.
Carrie Rawson. And she is
I got really close.
Yeah, you did. Carrie Rawson.
One is the closer and one is an author.
Yeah. So Carrie, Carrie's got a book that's out and another one that she's finishing up on. And when she gets that done and through publication, we're going to be talking to her because she's the daughter of the BTK killer, and she didn't. There was no signs of it until, the cops arrested him. Mm-hmm. And so we will be doing another Investigates, talking about some of that stuff and leading up to the interview with her, which I'm really excited about. But that's something that has, things have happened in the pandemic. That's one of those that's kind of been kicked down the road a little bit as stuff happens. But we've got a lot of connections that we made at Fan Expo with the comic book artists and some of the comic book authors that we're excited to have on. Loads of people now in the music community, after we did our music series, are wanting to get on board. Charlie Peacock, who is a legendary Grammy Award-winning producer, he's worked with groups like, let's see who you might know.
Little Big Town?
No. Amy Grant, Vince Gill, The Civil Wars, Switchfoot.
Some of those.
On top of his own stuff. And that's, kind of just scratching the surface. I mean, the dude is just unbelievable in his scope.
Who do you think the most interesting music writer is?
The most interesting music writer?
Yeah, it has been. In our rough timeline.
In our, that we've had on? Or
No.
in general?
Just in general.
Oh, well, that is, without a doubt, Bobby Braddock.
Really?
Yeah.
Why him over Chris Christopherson?
So Bobby Braddock over Chris Christopherson because Bobby Braddock has continued to write hits. But
Chris Christopherson flew a helicopter to Johnny Cash's house to convince him to let him write for him.
You're right. He is the only songwriter to have written a number one on the country charts in 5 different decades.
Him?
Yeah, Bobby Braddock. So he has, in each of the last 5 decades, he has written a country song that has hit number one on the charts. But he wrote Blue, which was the album that Ron Grimes wrote on. He's the one that wrote the title track that was her breakout song for LeAnn Rimes. He's also written for Elvis and for
Spare.
Yeah, right. And so there are all these incredible artists that he's written for, and still he's just hangs out at the songwriters conventions, is like a guy that just goes in and is kind of if you're in the know in Nashville, who he is, but if you don't, he can just walk into a room and he is the likely, in a room full of musicians and songwriters, he's the most talented guy that's there, has the most longevity, most skins on the wall, and he's just a nice, sweet, unassuming guy that just wants to hang out and to help people and to have fun. I think that's a good thought on answer.
That's good.
Yeah.
Is North Curious still around?
So
I haven't done anything in.
Unbelievable. Danley is, I guess, continuing to go down the set list here on.
Any lull, I'm just going to look over here.
Yeah, you just got anything?
Yeah, I miss the coronavirus. I don't.
No,
it's still around.
I
miss the pandemic, is what I meant to say.
Yeah, because you were allowed to stay at home.
Yeah,
because you get to work remote.
There was no pressure from anybody about hey, we've got a thing this weekend. Mm-hmm. Hey, we've had our kid, but would you like to come out for a second baby shower?
There was nothing.
I'll say, no, I can't. Pandemic.
Yeah, there was nothing that your wife was trying to.
Pandemic.
Nothing that your wife was trying to plan on a Friday night after work.
It was not a problem. Until all of this went away, and now we're back to having to get out and see each other.
Anytime we talk about this, all I hear is you going, "Come watch Hamilton with us." When you were complaining about that, we do have some cool stuff to be looking forward to this year, though. The next series of Rev and Rep Investigates about the BTK killer will be coming up. A new show that we will be doing called Next Week for Now.
No, I can't wait for that.
Which is going to be really fun, as well as some of the amazing guests. We've got the guy who was the artist for the Walking Dead series, as well as Marvel Zombies. He is the comic book zombie guy. Will be coming on. Dr. Carl Truman is heading up more interviews with our boys from Forged in Fire, Charlie Peacock, and so many more that are on the dockets. But before we close out, I just want to say a big thanks to all of y'all who are listening and watching. Thanks so much for being with us for the past 2 years. For hanging out with us, for listening to us.
Yeah, without seeing some of the success of people watching it, it wouldn't have been as fun and inspiring to keep going. So yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Thanks for checking it out. We're going to keep making it.
Yeah, and if there's somebody that you really want us to have on or really want us to have back, let us know.
Start your own show. Do some work for yourself. You're going to tell us what to do?
You know what? Leave it in the comments or email us at Reverend and Reprobate @gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys to know, who it is that you want to see on the show. Check us out at Rev Rep Podcast on Twitter and on Instagram. And if you're on Instagram, you'll get to see a bunch of videos of our dogs, which Instagram just recently checked because they are getting thousands of views more than our video. Like our video will have like 100. A video of our dog will literally have 20,000 views, and Instagram was like, we're kind of making sure you're not cheating the system.
We just put something out people like. Dogs.
Just put something out that the masses enjoyed.
Yeah,
so
keep it simple.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys have good, give, and we'll see y'all next week.